Iyslander is the new wizard hero and she has a very cool effect. She reads the following: if it's not your turn, you may play non-attack action cards with a blue color strip from your arsenal as though they were an instant. Whenever you play an ice card during the opponent's turn, create a frostbite token under their control. This is a really cool effect. You get to pull off instant speed shenanigans that slow down your opponent's plays. Count me in. Let's have a look at cards that I think will likely be an auto-include in any Ice Wizard hero deck. This is the very first card that came to my mind straight away. Of course, Winter's Bite is already a very annoying card, but if you can play a blue one from your arsenal at instant speed, that is absolutely amazing. Because it's not only a non-attack, it's also an ice card, so if you do play during your opponent's turn, that means that they will be generating a frostbite token on top of having to pay for the cost. This thing is going to be super annoying for opponents that don't really have the resources to deal with it. It's not going to be strong against decks that just plunk down one big attack and call it a day, like Guardian. But do keep in mind, like if you also run red Winter's Bite and yellow Winter's Bite, you could theoretically play a red Winter's Bite during your turn, already forcing them to pay an absolutely hefty cost. And then during their turn, you suddenly plunk this one down from the arsenal as well, making them pay even more. That's kind of going to break pretty much any strategy out there, at least the go white strategies, which I think is absolutely amazing. So Channel Lake Frigid is my next card that I think will be an auto-include in the Wizard deck. And this is by far my favorite non-attack to play in Iyslander. Channel Lake Frigid is already well known as a disruption tool, forcing your opponent to pay an additional resource for pretty much everything they try to activate. But the card is kind of balanced in a way because of the Channel Ice ability that's built into it, forcing you to put a flow counter on it at the end of your turn, and then put ice cards from your pitch zone on the bottom of the deck equal to the flow counters on the card. So generally this card sticks around for like one turn, sometimes two turns, before it's removed from the battlefield. But guess what, if you play this thing during your opponent's turn, this basically means that you're going to be having less flow counters on this thing, and this is going to be sticking around much longer than it usually would. That I think Channel Lake Frigid is going to be absolutely disgusting in this deck. And keep in mind, this is an ice card, so the moment that you play this thing during your opponent's turn, they also get a frostbite token, and I think that is very important to remember, because this means that maybe they can do one more attack, maybe two at most, but then that turn pretty much ends because they are not going to be able to keep up with this amount of pressure. So Amulet of Ice is another card that will probably go into this deck. I'm not really sure about this card right now because as it stands right now, we don't have any ice cards to fuse as of yet, but I would dare to bet a significant amount that we're probably going to be seeing at least one or two Ice Wizard cards in the Everfest set, which means that we're probably going to be able to fuse some ice stuff during our turn, making this Amulet of Ice very worthwhile by forcing the opponent to discard something and thus really continuing the whole control plan. But if we don't see any fuse cards, then I guess this is not really an auto-include anymore. As for non-ice cards, we do have the potions. There's a very strong case for Energy Potion being an auto-include in this deck as well, because you can simply plunk the Energy Potion into your arsenal, play that instant speed during your opponent's turn, and then suddenly you have two resources available in case you ever want to do something like a combo or a big attack or something like that. So I think Energy Potion is going to be in here for sure. But I could see a case for Time Snap Potions as well, making it into the deck. just so that you can do multiple wizard actions in one turn, because that's usually the thing that limits decks like Kano, right? Like Kano kind of needs to do their Kano shenanigans by pitching tree and casting stuff at instant speed from the top of the deck, but if you can play a Time Snap Potion and generate multiple action points during your turn, I could kind of see a more during your turn approach of Wizard, where you play like 1 or 2, maybe even big Wizard attacks thanks to the Time Snap Potion and deal your damage that way. But I don't think, I still don't think we're going to be seeing a full-on combo deck in a deck like this. I think Kano is still better built to do the whole Forked Lightning combo and stuff like that. I think it's more like 2 zaps in a row or something. Gaze the Ages is yet another non-attack that is locked to Wizard specifically, and what's cool about this, if you played anything Wizard related during your opponent's turn, then you could pretty much play it from your arsenal up to and put it into your hand as it resolves. That gives you another blue in your hand in order to activate some additional effects if need be. But what this also does is that it gives you a 3 block in hand that you could potentially use to block an opponent's thing with. Of course, at that point, it kind of becomes like a defense reaction with an up to built into it, if that makes any sense. But I do think it's nice having something like this in the deck, simply because of the flexibility, the up thing, it going back into your hand in case you want to cast another spell or something like that. So I think Gaze the Ages is something that will be included in a Wizard deck like this for sure. Whisper of the Oracle, I'm not really a huge fan of this card specifically. I know I do play it in Kano, because if you can cast it off the top of your deck on instant speed, it's kind of nice to have that up to right there, since that's probably one of the stronger non-attack action effects in the game right now. But it doesn't really do anything. It's not an ice card, and it's kind of like a slot filler at the moment, I would say, especially since you're not really doing top deck shenanigans, so I feel the up is not as important as it is in a deck like Kano, but it's still a nice card. I mean, it's something you can play during your opponent's turn. You can up a bit, fix your hand for the next turn, and maybe make sure that you have some very good control stuff on the top of the deck in order to make the opponent's life a hell in the following turn. But it kind of has me wondering if something like a Chill to the Bone or a Reef Ice is too greedy to put into a deck like this. The thing is, Chill to the Bone and Reef Ice, they don't really do anything on your opponent's turn. But generating a Frostbite token on your opponent's turn for free just for playing these from your arsenal, there might be some benefit in that, you know, like just making your opponent's turn difficult every single turn is good. And also, since these are ice cards, and if we do get stuff that can ice fuse for the Wizard deck in general, then it's maybe good to have these cards as well. But I don't know, maybe it's too greedy, but I think there may be a world that these are still playable simply because they are instant speed in your arsenal, and also because they are blue, so you can pitch them if need be, or you can play them for free in order to generate that Frostbite token. As for instant speed spells, we have Blizzard, which is an ice instant speed card. Since it's an instant speed card by itself, you don't even need to have it in your arsenal. You can just play it during your opponent's turn from your hand. And the cool thing about it is that it strips away the go again from an attack unless the opponent pays 2. But since it's an ice card, the moment that you play this from your hand during your opponent's turn, it will also generate that Frostbite token again. So no matter how you play this card, it's going to be extremely difficult for them to do a follow-up play in my experience. But again, like if you're up against something like a Guardian player, and the Guardian player simply plunks their attack down, then, well, what is Blizzard gonna do, right? They don't have go again to begin with, and yeah, they could pay 2, but why would they care? They're probably just gonna let the thing resolve, and then they got the Frostbite sitting there, which will just vanish at the end of that turn. So Against a lot of decks this is not really gonna be too great, but I can really see an argumentation, like seeing how the current meta is shaping up, at least in the Blitz format, that is really an odd to include just to be able to go up against things like Briar consistently. Either way, I will start playtesting this hero a bit the following days. All in all, I'm very happy with this hero. It looks really interesting. Starting at 18 life is a bit of a downside, but we've seen this a lot for the younger heroes in Crucible of War as well, so maybe we're going to be seeing more heroes like this. But as a wizard, at least it's not 15 life, right? It could have very well been 15 life, seeing how strong the control game for this particular hero is, but I'm excited for this. I'm really looking forward to play this, and yeah, let me know what you think. Do you think that the cards I mentioned today are going to be auto-includes in your deck as well? If so, let me know down below. And if you have any cards that you would personally include, let me know as well. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and if you want to support the channel, you can always do so by becoming a channel member or a patron, or you can go over to my website kuganegaming.com and get yourself a very nice Kugane Gaming playmat. Anyways, thank you for watching and see you all next time. Take care.